What if I tried to beat Pokemon SoulSilver, but every single Pokemon has to come from headbutting trees? This run will of course be a hardcore Nuzlocke, so 1 Pokemon per area, permadeath, no items in battle, level caps, no mercy. The problem? Headbutt Pokemon are random, rare, and sometimes absolutely terrible. No routes, no caves, no gifts. If it doesn't fall out of a tree, I cannot use it. Can a team of glorified tree gremlins actually survive Johto and Kanto and the champion Red? Let's find out. Now, as many of you will know, the Headbutt Man is not accessible until after the second gym, but thankfully I have some leftover Nintendo magic. I am running seriously low though, so I will need a hookup pretty soon, so I can choose Seal as our starter. No, I will not be using this cute little guy, but he is, to my knowledge, the only one who learns Headbutt at level 1, so after the early game story business, a Pokemon gets stolen, we get some Pokeballs, and the run officially begins. And immediately just behind our childhood home, we can force our Seal to ram its head into the tree and out falls an owl. As you can imagine, the encounter pool for this run is super slim, so every member is important. So I am happy to add Oak to the team. Cheeky little gold star if anyone can pick up on the naming convention this run. And the encounters keep on coming as we can get a Pineco on the first route as well as a Heracross, and this team is looking so good. I mean, Heracross heavily carries it, but this isn't bad for a squad with 0 badges. And as I was training up to the level cap, we encountered a shiny Wooper. Full odds, that is insane. This pink little gal will be the prettiest HM-mon ever. And after adding Execute to the squad, we can take on the first gym, and we do have a crippling weakness to flying, which will be a common theme this run, but thankfully it is the first gym and not any later. Our eggs can set up a Leech Seed against the Pidgey and then hit a 5-egg barrage for the KO. Now, I'm not a nerd, so I don't use damage calculators, so I don't know how big a risk it is to stay in, but I do, and their Gust does about half and our Leech Seed connects, basically securing our victory. I switch into Oak and put them to sleep, and we can peck away at them for the victory, claiming the first badge of the run. And we don't have to wait too long for our next encounter, as just before Azalea Town, down falls a cheeky little monkey. And this little Apom might look small, but this thing is a beast, especially when it evolves. So I am buzzing to add Spruce to the team. And she immediately rips through the rocket grunts and even the admin in the Slowpoke well, although that annoying coughing still managed to make it close by poisoning us. And now we have a Spearow on the team, we take on the second gym, the bug type leader Bugsy, and his lead Scyther is super scary. They go for a focus energy to raise their crit rate, and our Aerial Ace does just over half before Berry. A quick attack from the bug does decent damage to our bird, and another Aerial Ace brings them into healing range. So as they heal up, we can bring them back to half. I then switch into Pineco on a crit quick attack, so I have to switch again and I bring in our other bird, but they also get a crit on the switch. This is super annoying. I go into our Heracross and thankfully we avoid 2 crits so we can fire off an Aerial Ace for the KO. And then simple back-to-back Okos on his other bugs claim us our second badge. We breeze past the rival battle, and I mean absolutely breeze it. Spearow solos, showing once more that it is the superior Kanto bird. And now we are in Ilex Forest, we can finally retire Seal to the box as we can learn Headbutt ourselves. And in the forest we can actually headbutt a tree and outfalls a Beedrill. And Redwood the humongous bee makes its debut in the next gym fight against everyone's favourite crybaby, Whitney, and her goddamn cow. We fire off a Twin Needle and it looks like a 2-shot, but the second falls just short of the KO, but gets the poison, so it falls at the end of the turn. And her ace is out and we get brought low by a stomp, and our Twin Needle does little but gets the poison, which they heal with their berry. I switch into Pineco as we can take a stomp pretty well and we manage to get a bug bite off for some decent damage, bringing them below half. I switch into our eggs on a stomp and then we get attracted, but we hit through attract and connect with a leech seed, and knowing they will heal, I switch into our fighting type. We get stomp flinched, but the next turn our Brick Break connects and leaves them deep in the red, so low that Leech Seed Chip can take them down, defeating her and her damned cow, claiming our 3rd badge. And as we are on a roll, gym battles don't come easier than this. The 4th gym leader, Morty. Our birds are now fully evolved, but we don't need them, as all we need is our monkey, and that is it. We can outspeed an Oko the Ghastly with a Shadow Claw. His first Haunter is out, and we outspeed an Oko yet again with another. His Ace Gengar is out, and it locks us in with Mean Look, and I go for a Screech. And the only move this can hit us with is Sucker Punch, and it only has 5 PP. And I can stall that by just going for Screech, as the move fails even when we're put to sleep. So when all 5 PP has been used, we can wake up and Shadow Claw for the KO. And then his final Haunter is out, and we can just Oko that as well. I don't think the crit was necessary, but that is another badge secured. But the issue with things going so well is that you get complacent. And when you get complacent, errors happen. And the first major balls up of the run comes against Chuck. For some reason I lead B-Drill, but we just get outsped and destroyed by a Rock Slide. Well, I didn't want him anyway. Firo can thankfully take the Primeape down with a few aerial aces after taking a Rock Slide, and his Ace Poliwrath is out. I risk it and go for another, and it brings them to Berry as we take a Surf and survive on just 3 HP. I switch into our other bird and I dish out some Hypnosis Justice for all the times his Poliwrath has done the same, and then we can take it down slowly with Confusions. Man, Noctowl is so weak. Jasmine thankfully was back to basics, so Heracross can Oko both Magmamites, but Steelix's colossal physical defense means it survives a few, but it can't do anything to us, so we can eventually secure the victory. But as the adventure gives us no time to stop and breathe, we head up to the Lake of Rage to pick up our next encounter, and that is a Venonat. While we're here though, we put the funny looking Gyarados out of its misery and head straight to the Team Rocket hideout and wipe them out. But more importantly, our Apom evolves, and Ambipom is just an insane mon. It doesn't look like much, but this mon will do us good. But it is Heracross yet again who secures us the gym badge. Man, Heracross is seriously go-to. Literally, I just click Brick Break over and over. Seal survives one, but we can take it down eventually. Dugong got Oko'd somehow, I'm not sure how that works, and Piloswine took a couple, but it was nice and simple. We like the simple ones. The Radio Tower 7 is always more annoying than difficult, even with all the admins and our rival. There were no trouble for this ragtag team of fallen mons. And at the very top of the tower sits Archer, the new leader of Team Rocket, and again I got complacent. Firo can Oko his first puppy, and then his coughing survives 2 flies, but eventually falls. His Houndoom is out, and I love this mon so much, but it outspeeds and goes for a Fire Fang, which brings us low, and burns. Which is a problem, as we went for Fly. We fly up, and we take Burn Chip. We do avoid their attack, and our Fly does little due to the burn. And then we fall to said Burn Chip. Thankfully Ambipom can come in for the KO, thwarting Team Rocket once and for all, but we did lose the better of our 2 birds. Sorry not sorry, Noctowl. Picking our chin up, it's time for the 8th and final gym of the Johto region, but not before evolving our eggs into an egg tree. Executor is an awesome mon and is for sure going to be an asset in the long run, as long as it doesn't suffer from Gen 4 moveset syndrome. Anyway, we take on Claire and I lead with Fortress, and we can take exactly 3 Dragon Rages, being left on just 5 HP, but we do get 3 layers of spikes up. I bring in Executor on a bite, which does big damage, and after taking another, bringing us into the red, we miss our Leech Seed. Wonderful. So I switch into Venomoth, and we manage to poison them before being brought low by Dragon Rage, so I have to switch yet again. That is half our team out of this fight, and we haven't done our first chunk of damage. I bring in Amber Bomb, and a Silk Scarf boosted strength leaves them low after Poison Chip. They heal up, but we can take them down, only taking 2 Dragon Rages in the process. And thanks to the Spikes Chip, our Monkey can OHKO both Dragonairs and the Kingdra with a Silk Scarf boosted strength each. Kingdra was a crit, I'm not sure if it mattered, but I don't care. Monkey beats Dragon, Monkey wins. The Kimono Girls were no hassle. Choice Scarf U-turn on Amber Pom made sure we were in the best position available for each of them. And that leads us to Lugia. And as much as I would love to use this thing, it didn't fall from a tree. So our monkey sends it into the Shadow Realm. I love how if you KO the legendary instead of catching it, some of the Kimono Girls are like, good job, but one of them is like, are you sure you did the right thing? Very, very passive aggressive, Nintendo. Anyway, now we are at the Elite Four, and it's not like we can build much of a team anyway. So I get our mons up to the level cap, pray to Arceus, and head on inside. Will the Psychic Specialist is up first, and I lead with our monkey, and a Shadow Claw does big damage to Xatu, but we get confused, and the next turn we take a Psychic before we hit ourselves in confusion. I switch and I bring in our Steel type, and a Headbutt takes it down. Jinx comes in and we can OHKO with a Bug Bite after taking another Psychic. His own Executor is out and it sets up a Reflect so our Bug Bite only does half before putting us to sleep. I switch into Venomoth on a Psychic which almost KOs us, but as we outspeed we can KO from that range with a Signal Beam. His other Xatu is out and I bring in Executor to Leech Seed, and then Forretress can come back in to stall and KO with a Headbutt when they're low enough. And his final mon is the bulky Slowbro, and the only way I can see us securing the victory is by stalling ourselves. So Executor can poison and Leech Seed, and we stall that well that we are brought to full HP. Hell yeah. I love stalling. Have I ever mentioned how much I hate Koga? This battle took 20 minutes. Like, it's so annoying. So I'm going to condense this as much as possible because editing it is just reminding me of that Koga. Owl beats Spider in the Battle of Johto early game mons. Forretress beats Forretress thanks to Executor's Leech Seed and Protect. Noctowl comes back out to destroy the Venomoth, but gets toxicked in the process. Mutt comes out and I switch into Executor for the Reflect and the Leech Seed as they load up on minimizers, and eventually we get the KO thanks to a Venomoth Psybeam and his Ace Crobat. Thankfully we get a Leech Seed off before they double team so Forretress can come in and stall for the KO. Seriously, f that guy. Thankfully Bruno is simple as always. Noctowl takes down the Hitmontop, burning a heal. Venomoth takes down Hitmonchan with a Psybeam. Executor takes down Onyx, not with a quad effective stab grass move, no, that would be too simple. We stall it because our moveset is so bad. Ambipom can take down the Hitmonlee thanks to some clever switching, and Forretress can stall Machamp thanks to Leech Seed from our palm. Karen, the final Elite Four member and my future wife, is next up, and she sends out Umbreon first, and of course it loads up on double teams, cause why not? It does take us 5 minutes to get there, as it can literally do nothing but confuse us, and eventually Forretress gets the KO with a Bug Bite, and this brings out her dog. I switch into Noctowl, and an Air Slash brings them to Berry as we get brought super low, so I risk it, and they go for a Crunch as we switch into Heracross, and thankfully we can outspeed due to the Choice Band, and a Brick Break gets the KO. I switch into Ambipom, and when Murkrow comes out and we get brought into the red by a Sucker Punch before Strength brings them low. They heal up, but we get a higher roll and KO from full. Gengar is out, and we can pick up the straight OHKO with a Shadow Claw, and her final mon is Vileplume. I get a crit U-turn and switch into Venomoth on a soft Petal Dance, and a Psybeam gets the KO, defeating the final member of the Elite Four. Now it is time for the champion, and honestly, I'm not feeling confident at all. His three Dragonites. are super scary. I am gonna have to pull something huge right now. His lead Gyarados is scary enough though, and it looks silly, but I lead with Executor. We take an Ice Fang that does a lot, and then we set up a Reflect. I then set up Leech Seed as their Ice Fang does a lot less now, and we get brought above half thanks to Recovery. Annoyingly, we miss a Poison Powder before switching into Fortress to wall this thing. We get frozen, but a flurry of headbutts later, we get the KO. Charizard is out next, and I switch into Noctowl, and their job here is just to get some damage off before falling. We get brought to 5 HP and bring them into the red, but they don't heal and they just switch into Aerodactyl, and we do a tiny bit of chip before falling. Our monkey comes in, and after taking a rock slide, we can KO from that range with an Iron Tail. His Ace Dragonite is out, and we fire off a Strength, and we do about a third as they miss their Fire Blast. And the next turn, our Strength gets a crit and KOs. Holy monkey. Another of his Dragonite is out, and a Strength does little as they miss a Thunder, and our next one leaves it low as they connect with the next one, KOing our monkey. Salutes all around, please. Heracross holding the Choice Scarf is out, and its job is to just fire off Rock Tombs. We outspeed and KO the dragon, bringing out his Charizard. They use 3 full restores before finally falling to our bug, and his final mon is out, his last Dragonite. We use Rock Tomb again, which does little as they paralyse us. A Dragon Rush does over half to us, and we break through and bring them below half. I bring in Fortress as we can wall this thing, and they use yet another full restore. This guy is just taking the piss. They fire off a Hyper Beam, which does little, and whilst they recharge, I bring in Venomoth, who can poison, and after taking a Dragon Rush, I switch back into Fortress as they fall to Poison Chip, defeating Lance, claiming the title of champion for ourselves. And as we get inducted into the Hall of Fame, I realise we're not done yet. As you all know, when you become champion of Johto region, Heart Gold and Soul Silver don't just end there, you need to conquer the Kanto region as well. So we set sail and arrive in Vermilion City, and we need some reinforcements. And just outside of the city, we can find a combi, and thank God it's a V-Mail, so we can actually use this and it's not just fodder. And we head south, and in Fuchsia City we can get a Headbutt. This one wasn't locked to Kanto, but I just didn't see the point of getting one until now because, well, it's Headbutt. We can also get a Wurmple, but more importantly we can get a Tangela, finally an actually useful mon. That's if it doesn't suffer from Gen 4 moveset syndrome. Janine is the first Kanto leader we take on, and these gyms are a joke. None of them really pose a threat, with most of them having 4 mons, and our mons being at such a high level you can usually just sweep them. Executor sets up Leech Seed and Reflect against her lead Crobat before we can bring in Venomoth, who can Psybeam for the KO after they burn a heal. Ariados comes out and Venomoth can pick up another KO. His own Venomoth is out and starts using Double Team, annoying like her father I see, but we eventually connect with a Psybeam that crits, bringing her ace into the red before Berry. We get hit by a Psychic which brings us low, so I switch into our new team member Vesprit Quinn on a Sludge Bomb. Another brings us low, but we can heal with a heal order, and then we connect with a Power Gem that gets the KO. Weezing is out, and we get them to burn another heal, and despite being badly poisoned by Toxic, our Queen can stay healthy with heal order and secure yet another KO. And as for the Ariados, I bring in Executor for the Leech Seed and Fortress to wall. What is it with this annoying family? Remember what I said about these gyms being easy? Well, once we pick up the leftovers from the Sleeping Snorlax, we can teach Heracross the Earthquake TM and give it the Choice Scarf and just rip through the Lieutenant's team, one-shotting them all. No one is safe from our Rhino Beetle. Hell yeah. I take on Misty next, and in hindsight I should have gone Erica first, as Giga Drain would have just destroyed her team, but instead I went for the patented Executor Stall strat. With Poison and Leech Seed, Golduck stands no chance, and even get her to waste a potion before the duck falls. Lapras comes in, and this thing has Ice Beam, so I switch into Heracross and close combat destroys the Ice type. Quagsire gets the same treatment as Golduck, Poison and Leech Seed Stall, but Giga Drain would have been so much more convenient. So I decide to bring in Tangrowth, and a Bullet Seed does enough from half for the KO. Starmie is out, and this thing is scary. It's quick, and it hits hard, and it has Ice Beam. I bring in Venomoth on an Ice Beam, which does a third, and the next turn we get confused and hurt ourselves. We get smashed by another that gets a crit and just KOs us. Well, that is very unfortunate. I bring in Executor, and we get confused and hurt ourselves, but we can eventually get a Light Screen up and a Leech Seed off before switching into Fortress and securing the victory. But now there is a Venomoth-sized void we need to fill. And I fill the gap with a Starly that we can get in Pewter City. Name a better upgrade, I will wait. And with our new bird, the best regional bird by the way, we take on Erica, and I try my best to sabotage us by leading with Staraptor and misclicking and pressing close combat instead of fly. My god, I am so good at this. The Jump Love only goes for a Leech Seed, so we can switch into Vespiquen for some chip before they U-turn into Victory Bell, so I bring in our Fortress to wall it. And when we get them weak enough to heal, I bring our bird back in so we can KO from full with a fly. Tangela also gets OHKO'd after doing huge damage with a Ring Out, and then Bellossom can also get OHKO'd after setting up the sun, and her lead is back out, and it goes for the Giga Drain that does so little so we can KO with our bird. It got the sweep in the end, but it definitely wasn't a clean one. That's my bad. Now that we have the Giga Drain TM, Brock is an absolute joke. Executor has the leftovers attached just to really rub salt in the wound, and we can proceed to waltz through his entire team. Only one of his Pokemon lays a finger on us, making us flinch with a Rock Slide, but that is it. I didn't even press Leech Seed either. What a mon. Sabrina is next, and yet again this is a cakewalk, especially when you have this many bug types at your disposal. We poison and seep the Espeon before our queen can come in and get the KO, bringing out Ash's dad. The evolution got us low, so I execute it before bringing in our Steel type for the Bug Bite KO, and her ace, the scary Alakazam, is out, and it outspeeds and sets up Reflect so our Bug Bite does half, but we eat their Citrus Berry so we can survive the Psychic and KO the next turn. I still don't get how Bug beats Psychic, but at this point, I don't care. Blaine is yet another one of those streams where we can slap the Choice Scarf on Heracross and just click Earthquake over and over. Rapidash somehow survives, and he burns 3 full restores before falling. And in defeating the old man, a mysterious figure at the Cinnabar Poké Center says we are ready to take on the final leader. And it turns out that he is the old champion of the Kanto region, Blue. Who knew? And his team is actually champion worthy. It is very well rounded, and ours is not, and honestly, I have no strategy here, just hit and hope. We start the battle well though by OHKOing the Executor with a 4x Mega Horn from Heracross. This brings out his ace Pidgeot. I switch into Fortress on an Air Slash, and it does way more than I would like. They fire off another, which brings us below half, as our Rock Slide doesn't even do half. We survive another as they bring us to just 28 HP, and our Rock Slide falls just short of the KO, as their Citrus Berry brings them just out of healing range. I switch into Staraptor, and we can fly for the KO, but we get brought below half. Rhydon is his next mon, and it goes for a Thunderfang of all things as I switch into our own Executor, and the next turn we can fire off a Giga Drain that KOs and gets us back to full HP. The best Pokemon of all time is out, Arcanine, and I absolutely can't stay in, and I've got to get lucky somewhere here, as they are firing off 120 attack Flare Blitzers off a base attack of 110. So I switch into Vespiquen to sacrifice and to get them to take some recall damage, but we end up surviving on just 13 HP. And then it clicks. They should probably go for an extreme speed now, so I switch into Heracross, and as we have the Choice Scarf, we are faster, and an Earthquake gets the KO from that range. Machamp is next out, and I go into Executor, and yeah, I forgot to teach it Psychic, so we Leech Seed and Poison, and get Reflect up, so they can't do anything, and with a Giga Drain and leftovers, we burn through one heal and get the KO. his final mon is Gyarados, which is scary, but it gets scarier as it goes for a Dragon Dance, and we hurt ourselves in confusion. Thanks, stupid Machamp and that stupid Dynamic Punch. An Ice Fang brings us below half, and we break through confusion and miss our Leech Seed. Seeing the leftovers recovery, I risk it and I stay in, and we survive another on just 5 HP. But we get frozen. I switch into Heracross on another Ice Fang, and it also gets frozen. Seriously, what are the chances? I know we can survive another, but they go for a waterfall. But it doesn't matter as we survive anyway. But I don't thaw out. I switch into Tangrowth on a waterfall that does little, and they go for another Dragon Dance, which is basically curtains for this run, as we fire off an Ancient Power. We survive an Ice Fang below half, and then we get lucky. Ancient Power crits, and it gets the KO, defeating the Gyarados and claiming the final badge of the run. Now, flame me in the comments if you disagree, but I don't think this team has the legs to beat the final boss of the game. And we don't have many cards left to play, but one I opt for is the strongest non-legendary Pokemon ever. Yes, even stronger than Garchomp, just don't think about the ability. Look at those stats! And when we have evolved it into the old pick and flicker, we climb the highest mountain in all of Johto, where an ominous trainer awaits. This is Champion Red, and he leads with his little Pikachu, and I with Heracross. And thanks to the Scarf, he can outspeed, and an Earthquake gets to clean Oko. Charizard is out next, and I switch into Slacking, and then Air Slash gets a crit on the switch and does over half. Well, that's not very good. Now we are on the back foot, I have to spend every attacking turn slacking off to heal until we eventually fall. Thankfully though, they went for a Flare Blitz to take some recall damage. Some debut from slacking, by the way. I then go for another sacrifice play and send in Forretress to the furnace as they get incinerated, leaving them deep in the red due to recoil. I know he will heal up, so I send in Vespiquen, and a Power Gem doesn't quite get the range even with Hail Chip, so I decide to stay in, and we both fall at the end of the turn. I send in Executor as they go for Lapras, and we survive a Blizzard barely and get Leech Seed up. A Giga Drain does over half, but we fall to another 100% accurate Blizzard. Heracross can outspeed and KO with a Brick Break, bringing out Blastoise, and as we are locked into Brick Break, our bug does well, even burning another heal, but we eventually fall to a Blizzard. And our last hope is Staraptor, and looking at his final mons, I have a small glimmer of hope. We can take down the Blastoise, and this brings in his Snorlax. I go for a close combat, but it doesn't quite KO, and the beast fires off a Blizzard, and our run comes to an end. Man, that was so unfortunate. That final battle was a roller coaster. That Zard crit really put the nail in the coffin, but I thought Staraptor could clutch. The concept of this run was so fun, as well as a surprisingly diverse pool of mons, and it didn't just turn out to be a mono bug run. I thank every single one of you for watching, and if you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more wacky Pokemon challenges. And if you have anything to add or a run to suggest, let me know down below. But with all that said, stay classy and have a wonderful, wonderful day.